Haven't done one in a while. It was feeling kind of workshoppy. It's all consort all the time, all all sexuality, all relationship, anything you want to talk about in that area, I can talk about. I don't even have my questions here. So what that means is it's all your questions, unless I usually can think of something to talk about, but I thought I'd talk with you today. That's what I thought. Sunday seems like the day for that. Is today Sunday? Oh, good. Seems like the day for that. It's kind of churchy or something. So let's see. I'll just start with some notes, unless you guys tell me if anybody has a question. And in the meantime, I'll just
feel free to send questions in on the chat or raise your hand if you're on the Zoom.
I thought I could talk about, maybe I'll talk about disgust. What do you think? Yeah. So I think one of the hardest, so everything that I say today is only for me, only about me, just talking about me. These are not instructions. These are not, do not try this at home. If you do, get a therapist, whatever. But so in terms of disgust, because this is how it works, where there's the greatest arousal, there's the most disgust usually around it. Disgust or repulsion or avoidance, like, I don't know if you've ever been talking to someone and you're like kind of in this turned on place. And the next thing you know, they're like, I'm going shopping. Yeah. So they bounce out of the actual conversation. So that's an avoidance technique. And so, but here's the good news, and this is the place where people often get upset or frustrated, and it should be the exact opposite. And that is that where those things appear is where the person has never been able to penetrate before. And so it's where the greatest potential lies. So for me, I'm kind of a heat-seeking missile for the most potential in terms of pockets of locked up sexual energy. That's all I want to play with, really. I like to find the buttons of where they're located and then, gently press them and have them open. And then from whatever opens, an entire scene opens is how it works. So there's like a membrane, you kind of pierce the membrane, and then the scene of whatever was in there will arise. And so if you've done psychedelics, you kind of know this experience where, I don't know about you, but like if I just do vitamin C, I'll just eat vitamin C when I'm on, back in the day when I was on LSD, and like all of a sudden this whole scene would arise from having this different nutrient. Or, one time I was with these women and we were tripping. It was a beautiful trip. And all of us became Black Panthers. I don't know how, but we did. And we had like these AK-47s and we were just so sexy walking through the room, and we were just walking in to get like nachos or something, but it was really, really great. And so these things happen, and wherever a pocket is, there's a whole series of things that want to be noticed and expressed and felt. And as you become more fluent from the other side, where you aren't just in the material world of sexuality, which is, I would say, in and of itself, it's enjoyable. I don't have a problem with it. It's just so vastly limited. It's just so limited and just so bound to diminishing results, isn't it? Just like me and my boyfriend. It's just me and my boyfriend. And we're just holding hands. And, when there's this potential for really tapping into the real internet, the place of total connection to all things. And then being in that place when you're really located there, then the natural arisings come. And so you can feel various, energy, see various images, have various expressions, feel your partner become the counterpart of something that is arising in you. All of a sudden, you're I don't know, you feel this sort of like sexy dominant energy, and you look and their eyes are really kind of like this, and then but then it kind of changes, and then you feel something where they're kind of like pervy, they're a pervert or something, and you feel them sort of like private and kind of perverted, and you break into their little perversion experience, and then that brings an eroticism to it. So eroticism really, the key metabolizing factor to all experiences is approval. So you had better have your approval on as you enter into other people's spheres, because people have everything that nobody ever wanted to see down there in their basement. And so, and the things are, the things that most people think are bad or evil, they just don't, to me, they aren't. But often what you'll just see is confusion, or you'll see, and so how do you respond to that? And how do you eroticize somebody's confusion? Because that's what we're doing. We're bringing every single thing up to be eroticized, to be turned on, so that the person becomes full electricity, and that experience of full electrical potential being on is available in every direction, no matter what comes their way. And then you discover this, magical thing, and that is that when you're in that state, then when you're in that, sorry, somebody just knocked on the door. When you're in that state, then you're no longer a slave to circumstances. Then you can figure out how to turn on to any circumstance. So Om is really it's a funny thing, beginning, middle, end, but it's for the beginner. And you go there until you hit a certain state, and then you might begin to explore it in actual sexual expression, and then and then you kind of enter this anything goes world. And but take great care that you do it with great care. And so how do you know if you're ready to transition into a place? And that is, do you have primary facility over your state of mind? That's all. If you can guarantee yourself that you can have a fundamental resting pulse of happiness, then you're ready to transition. You can be a source of happiness for the people around you, for yourself. It's really the primary thing that we're here to do, the most important thing that you can do. If you have a certain level of stability, ideally it's stability in your happiness and your expression of creativity, or productivity, whatever you want to call it. Those are a good foundation before you transfer into the next level, where you bring that fundamental resting pulse of happiness to flight. What is flight? So it would be a fundamental resting pulse of arousal. And so you're with each of these, you're kind of lifting a bit of weight or pressure off, right? We wear problems in order to feel safe. So all of the problems you think you have, you've drawn in order to feel safe, in order to add weight to your reality, because flight is scary. Until it's not, until it's the only thing you do or want to do or are interested in. And then you have, the third level flight is where the only way that you experience turn on is through others. And then that's a whole other journey, because then now you have the capacity for flight. It's kind of a punchline, because you have the capacity for flight, but you just agree to be the whole piano, the whole spectrum. And so sometimes not only are you not in flight, but you are down in the hell realms, turning on people's demons for them. But it doesn't matter. None of it matters at that point, because you're just enjoying it. You are arousal, basically, at that point. There is a point where, so then there's sort of the network of all sexual energies, and you can pop out into any one of them at any point. And so you can, you can arise at, I won't give you all of the scenarios because mine are kind of kinky, but but you can arise as childhood sweethearts, or you can arise as teacher, student, or you can arise, you can arise in all of these various fields, and all of the people since the beginning of time who have been in that place. You can experience that density of experience, of that archetypal experience. You can go, when you go into the grid, you're going into the primary expression of it. You're going into the primal expression of it. And so you're experiencing it in the most raw form. You're experiencing the experience of it that fed everybody who had that experience. So we'll just say teacher, student, college age, teacher, student. And they're having, heat between them. Well, there's an archetype, there's a primal energy that's underneath that, that's feeding that, and that has fed all teacher, student, and college level people since the beginning of time. And so you can taste all of the flavors of every time that's ever happened. And it's arising in your experience with this person here. So once you know emptiness, we talked about emptiness, the pen, right? Does everyone know what I mean? Emptiness, there's a pen. Thank you so much, Matt. I get them twice today. Look at that. So what's this? It's a pen. It falls on the floor. A dog chews it. What is it? It's a chew toy. It goes in a back room. Nobody's there. What is it? Pure potential. Now you look at it. I'm looking at it. Can it be anything other than a pen? No, because that's where I'm grooved to impute the meaning. So if I try to deny that it's a pen, it's not. So that's what emptiness is. That's how you define emptiness. That's an example, a good one. After years of trying to define it for people, that's the best one I found. So there's the place, what emptiness is, and then you realize that you are emptiness. And then you have the experience where you realize that you are only you in relation to. And then you think you're you even when you're alone, we'll say. But no, the mind is still in relation to all of these energies that are running through you, creating what is perceived as thought, when in fact what it is listening. You're just listening to the voices in the telephone lines. And then because we have a tendency to what's called identify or grasp, we listen to the voice in the telephone line and we think that's us. So when you can unvelcro that and just have this free floating identity that is in full potential at all times, then you can have every experience that's ever happened. And that, provided you have a vehicle to have that in, and really the superior vehicle is sexuality. It's stable enough, it's fast enough, it's vast enough, and it goes down and gets the stuff that most of us want to leave behind, grabs it and converts it. And so then it's just so much fun. There's no more fun that's available. So the third level is your emptiness. And as emptiness, you just have your experience through that point of contact with other people. That's how you know what is desirable. And then your greatest desire becomes your actual desire, like the thing that makes you come, we'll say, is realizing other people's desires in various ways. So everybody's desire is fundamentally the same, though. And so this is what's so funny. Along the way, there are a lot of finite desires. although they feel big, you know, including obsession, including all of those things. I keep all of those in the realm of desire and in the realm of finite desires. And some of them are extraordinarily sophisticated, and some of them are, you know, just flashes that come. But there's on the way to the ultimate desire, which is just for vast open space. So that would be level 2. You're entering vast open space before you become the pure potential. So they say, you know, all impulses are toward liberation. All sexual impulses are toward liberation as well. And so that's where it's trying to get to. And that's what's calling it. So that state of yearning that we feel, the same thing that you're yearning for is yearning for you. It's pulling you. It's the voice that's pulling you, and it's pulling you through all of these experiences, all of these karmic experiences that must be gone through for consciousness to be in the place to withstand vast open space. You know, there's an experience that people talk about in psychedelics, especially what's called 5-MeO-DMT, and that's where some people just often just have what's called a whiteout. So you go through this whole experience to have, you know, a journey, and then they just white out through the entire journey because their consciousness and because 5-MeO-DMT is a very lovely, kind spirit. It doesn't take you beyond where you can go. It takes you beyond where you think you can go, though, just so you know, from what I've heard. And but it'll just send you into a whiteout because your mind isn't ready. It can't. The aperture can't remain open in that much space. It hasn't been trained to relax or open or spread out or reach out or breathe in that place. It just closes. So I will tell you, that's very similar to what happens to women's legs when arousal happens. So the arousal will happen and they clench. That same clenching is, so what you're clenching against is orgasm. What you're clenching against is arousal. The arousal aims to bring you to the space of vast open space. That's where it's headed. So at various points or levels in the experience of awakening, I don't like that word, reaching one's potential. The clenching happens at various levels on the way until you just exist as in and as vast open space that eventually just wants to be an invitation to the vast open space. So, yeah, anything? Any question?
Leah has a question.
Okay, good.
Okay, great. Now they'll let me unmute. Hi.
Hello.
Hello. Okay, I have a question. So, I've graduated from a certain kind of like girlish dating, and I'm getting sober from that sort of dating, like the giddiness, the codependence, the smallness, and I feel like a kind of grief of it, a grief of the falling in love feeling. And I'm like, there's a part of me that's like, will I ever get to have that feeling again? Or is that falling in love feeling just a sign that I'll go through all the pain of initiation that I've gone through, that I've just gone through? Or do I go through it again and it's just like deeper levels? And my question is kind of like, will relating ever be fun again, or like that kind of feeling again?
You can have any experience you want at any point forever. That's the nature of this ride. And then and in fact, I would say have it again. Have it again. Have it again, have it again, have it again. Like you probably don't work this way. I don't work this way. And that is doing something because I'm supposed to, or doing something because I'm told it will make me happier, or doing, I have a rule, I have a personal rule. Don't ever pray to have returned something that I asked to have removed. That's just one of mine. But you can, that's up to you. I just tried it enough times and I didn't like the results. But I would do two things. This is what I would do. One is, see, the reason you would not have these falling in love experiences is that you would realize that they're suffering. They would be, you would realize that they hold you to a platform, and out of an unimaginable coursing of bliss through every single sheath of your body. And so you have a challenge, right? Because you have to get to this feeling to know that it's worth it. And so there's all kinds of ways to go from there. Some people just fall in love for lifetimes. That's just what they do, and they'll do it until they exhaust that karma. I tend to, I'm much more like, I want the thing. I want it. I'm a junkie. I'm a hardcore junkie. There is, just as, what is it? You'll do anything.
Just yes.
Once you have one taste of the divine, you'll do anything to get it. I can't remember. And to have it again. That's how I feel. Like I'm like, it's like I don't need to pick up fool's gold anymore. But that's because I ran hard, So that's the first part. And then the second part is, if you're ever going to be resentful, and resentful is, I feel like I lost something, don't do it. Just don't do that to yourself. Don't do that to the people around you. And then it just may come the day when, when you realize, wait a minute, this thing always has the exact same cycle. Wait a minute, I'm always having to collect my energy, take that energy, project it onto somebody. I'm having to project onto them in a way that I elevate them. Now I'm having to decrease my own energy so that I can look up at them. And then they're moving away from me because I've now made them into a superior person so that I can run after them and chase after them. And that feeling of chasing, that's what I'm calling in love. Every now and then they'll turn back and look at me, or, if I'm lucky, they'll take me hostage, and then we can nurse on each other for a period of time. And then after that nursing happens, one of us will be mildly disgusted with the other. And because that'll be the way that that when you eat too much pasta, the fullness expresses itself, and then we'll come apart. And then one of us will decide that we're hungry and desperate, and then we'll start the whole cycle over again. That's really primarily how it works. And so you can do that. That's just like, I can give you the program for any sensation you want. I can give you the program for how to manifest that. I'll be your law of attraction. This is how, and if you pick out a guy, and we'll make it happen for you, and we'll turn it on. But you're living in second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth generation energies. Does that make sense? So you aren't living in the primal energy of what would undergird the feeling of in love, because the feeling of in love is that place in vast open space where there's just love there to greet you, and it's just, that's all it's doing, is making love always. And being in that place where your body could not be making love anymore, it's just in a perpetual state of love making. And that all of your relationships and relatings from that point on are a perfume or an off gas of that lovemaking that's always happening with such sufficiency, then you can say, oh, do I want a guy who has a kind of mild disdain for me so that I turn on to him, or that, grasps me and kind of needily, holds onto my leg as I'm moving? Like, you can say that to yourself. You can kind of feel where you want to land. I've landed in both. Both can be experiences, and they're all just experiences. That's the thing. I'm also here. I'm here to say there's a bigger experience than most people even imagine, and so we're choosing from like the dollar bin at the the clearance bin at the dollar store in terms of what we believe is possible, and so we're trying to take two things from the dollar bin. Woo, I got the big ones, and it's just like, okay, but that's such a mediocre, sad reality, when like you could be making love to every single person right now. That could be happening. And you could be deeply in love with them. And they with you. That all of that is available. It's just not necessarily available only in the physical realm. And so most people try to get all their kicks in the physical realm and then miss all of the energetic experiences, and where the good stuff is, where the real fun is, where it's everything. It doesn't have to be freaking secured to someone's identity, because that's where we are in the everyday world, right? I love you, and so my identity loves your identity. And how finite is that? How, really. So yeah, but here's what I'm going to say to you, Leah: have it, or have it, do it, get it. Because that yearning girl is always going to be in you. I'll give you two options. You can have it and get it, or you can, the girl in you that dances, you can let her lead. Wait, I can't hear you.
Well, okay, now they're letting me unmute. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, and it's so interesting. It's like what you were just talking about before with like when the whiteout happens, it's like I don't have to do anything, but if I want to live in that place all the time, it feels like the thing is to build the capacity to be able to stay at that altitude. And without having problems like take me down, and just maybe building it little by little, and then maybe letting myself have these experiences as I'm trying to gain altitude. The same goes for like how much good I can have in my life, and where I go out of flight by creating problems.
There is you do have that option. That's one way. Or you could just go into flight. I mean, that's the woman who dances in you. She's the one who knows how to just go into flight and stay into flight.
Thank you.
But, I have a friend, I was just talking to about this. My friend, she gets off on the idea of being inferior and kind of like yearning and reaching and wanting. Like most women grow up with Cinderella ideas, right? And so we have the idea that, hot romantic love is being saved by a man, and even saved from your loneliness or your yearning or something of that nature. And so, she spent a lot of energy, a lot of time manufacturing that scene again and again and again and again, and like some women have this, like, I'm the one who never gets it. And so they get off on that. That's what they get off on. And so, how in we don't practice a lot of climax. So that when I say get off on, they climax on the idea and they just keep going in the same circle of, I'm never going to get it. I'm never going to get it. I'm never going to get it. And then, and then they get it. And then it's like, this isn't very interesting. This isn't very interesting. This isn't very interesting, or something, or I got left again. I got left again, and they're all just tide pools or stories in samsara that we tell until we fly, and then when you fly, it's just so different by orders of magnitude. I mean, just infinitely different. It's everything that you wanted. Down here, it's all of this, you get all of the sensations that you ever wanted. You're just fat with everything you ever desired. You just don't necessarily have all of the circumstances at once.
Thank you.
Thank you, Leah.
Lindsay asked, what does it feel like to get into flight, and how do you know when you're there?
It feels like that everything stops gnawing at you. That's the first feeling. And usually there's a big exhale. And in terms of the body, because it's arousal, there's a feeling of this arousal and then this stretching or this expansion inside of you. And then the feeling is like, that kind of spread out. And then the feeling of kind of like this lift off in your mind that would be very akin to inspiration. And then you're in that kind of state of inspiration, and everything is at your back, and you're in the place where it feels like there's infinite potential. But anything that you put your attention on is just fascinating. You want to go there. And wherever you land for whatever period of time just has so much, it feels like a first kiss of this experience. Like suddenly you're in that first kiss with this experience, and then you have a beautiful interaction with it. And then all of a sudden, as soon as it feels like it's moved, you move. And there's just, everything kind of has that infinite feeling of falling in love and making love, and this inspiration. And like a problem will enter, and you'll have the wherewithal to not grab it, and you'll realize, that you'll just see it go by, and you just keep in motion. The mind doesn't grab or grasp for anything. And then as I don't know if it's gain altitude. We call it flight, but I'm talking about going down the mycelium, so whatever. But we'll just use flight for now. And then you go deeper and deeper into the experience. And when you're deeper and deeper, there is a type of vision that you experience. And this is a lot more rich. You move from that elevating sense of inspiration into this feeling. That's the sound of moving through the membrane into the next place of vision. And then you can tune into either, your partner, which is amazing, and all kinds of stuff comes from there, or, into bigger pictures. You can choose where you plug your attention into. And the feeling there is you are more you than you've ever been, or you're returning to the original you. And then the sense is, really it's kind of funny, because the ultimate sense of flight is just being seated. And in that being seated is, if anybody's ever seen the Lady of the Mycelium Palace, but the feeling is that, this is for a woman, it was like from her vagina, all of the streams of connection are occurring, and she can sense all of the flows of all of the arousals and activate them or take them in. And so the sense is, without having to move in this place that's beyond karma, without having to move, you are feeding and being fed all things.
Thank
That's
you.
my take on it anyway.
We got a question from Instagram from Lila. How do you begin to explore the different archetypical energies that arise between you and another?
That's such a great question. Again, I just want to have a blanket warning. Be careful as you do these things. People go cuckoo. Make sure you're comfortable with arousal. Make sure you're comfortable with how do I put it? Things that we call darkness, with shadow. You have to, because when you're working with archetypes, almost invariably you're working with shadow. And so all of the things that most people are afraid of, you have to learn how to turn your mind to approval and to arousal of those things. And it might even not be the things that you think, like, oh, I could totally turn on to a beastie dark energy or whatever it is, but it might just be like a man who's like super, feeble and hobbity. You might see that character arise in that person. And so be prepared to turn on to and love that. Like, what are you scheming about over there? Have you been there for a long time making plans? Were you thinking of hurting me or helping me? And you can just play, you can just have some fun and enjoy it. But so generally for me, how it goes, and I was just, I was doing my practice today. It was a very long practice, but I was just thinking today, it's a bit like a kaleidoscope, because you get into one scene and you're like, this scene is amazing. That these two energies, and that's how it feels to me, is these two energies have been looking to meet. This is my idea of love anyway. There are various energies that are looking to meet. You, to the extent that you open all of your channels, become a switchboard for these energies. And then it just, comes online. Oh, this person will accept, I don't know, big mama energy. And this person over here will accept, the schemer, we'll say. And those two have been looking to find each other for a long time. That's the feeling. The feeling always of an archetype or of emptiness is that you're coming home, or something that has wanted to happen is happening. It is a profound feeling of relief. So that's the first thing that you know. But you have to notice everything in you that you push down. Everything that you, especially when you're pushing it down by judgment, or, women push it down and smile and get cute, like everything that you're pushing down, every idea, like, when you're like, I just want to strangle that person, or that comes from an archetypal energy. And most people just try to push the energy down rather than go down and discover the nature of the energy itself, and know your life in a first generation way. So you begin to notice where, like, we'll say you're with your boyfriend, and it's just like, you're with your boyfriend. This is your boyfriend. This is how you always are. And then suddenly you just feel like, you just have that feeling, but you're not going to express that in bed. That's weird. And so you do this time. You just let it out. You just give it life. You just give it breath. You see what happens. You see if he recoils in terror. You see if suddenly a different expression shows up in him and he matches it somehow, and you begin the dance. And that's, when you're talking about Dakka and Dakini, when you're talking about consort, what you're talking about is sky dancing. That's why it's called sky dancing. And so you begin this dance that are the energies as opposed to the people themselves. The people are the hosts for these energies to come through, for the connection to be made, for the dance to begin to happen. So you'll feel two things. You have to get into a really heightened state of arousal to draw up archetypes. I was talking about the other day, you have to open up that platform of 9 3/4 that you go through into the mystery place. And so this is one of the reasons why with OM, we work very hard around having extended pleasure. I don't really like the word pleasure, extended arousal. Without climax, climax is amazing. I have no problem with climax. It's just that the arousal state that you're trying to enter is in between the activation bell, oh, I'm going to climax, and climax. And this is where you have to learn to live. And because this is the land of archetypes. After this is Dharmakaya, so there's nothing. It's just a leaping off into beautiful emptiness. Great. But here's where the life forms are. And so you want to get that. And so you're doing what do you need to do to genuinely increase the arousal? Because you can't fake it. Arousal cannot be faked. That's the thing. It is self-sorting. And so you have to do, I don't know, I do crazy stuff to keep it aroused. And I can tell you that the crazy stuff that I do to keep it aroused definitely involves inviting a lot of energies in. And so you're inviting them in because arousal feeds arousal. And so if my girlfriends around me are turned on, I'm more turned on. That's just the way it tends to work. So I do what I can to ensure that they're turned on, right? So but you have to get into that genuine state of arousal, and that's when you feel the first stirrings of an archetype moving through you. And then when you feel that, you do two things. You say yes. It's the first one. When we're so trained to say no. Women's faces, how they're supposed to look in sex, it's not natural for what wants to really happen, because sex is meant to be the gateway for all of these things to arise. So I think that's probably good. Is that good? Okay, good.
We have Benjamin on the Zoom.
Great. Hello, Benjamin.
Hey, I'm very new with this, so this might seem like it comes out of left field, but when I hear talk about desire and erotic attraction,
Energies. Mm-hmm.
it seems to never involve physical attraction, and I just wonder where that fits in.
I think it's a good question. I don't think it's out of left field at all. Not at all. I think that, we rely on the physical until we don't. It's the first thing. What I have to say is it's hard to say. So I'm gonna. That's why you feel me hesitating. So you start at finding turn on, finding connection through your default programs, right? So say you like really skinny girls, very petite with long black hair. And wherever you go, when you see one of those, the natural arousal happens. And so you know what it feels like to have that natural arousal, okay? And then as you first open your erotic aperture, then what happens is there's all of these possibilities here that you really don't notice, and all of these possibilities here that you really don't notice. And then there are these possibilities here that you only notice that you're not about this and not about that, right? So there's, if you go through all of the possibilities, most people operate along this line of what they allow in their aperture of arousal, which is great. I think it's great because I think how I feel is anybody who experiences it at any point, we're in better shape as a world for that having happened. So then what begins to happen as you get more filled up with actual Eros is your aperture expands a little bit more. We often say, Eros is like having 3D glasses where the third dimension is you're a little bit in love with everything. So you know that place when you've had a really good makeout or kind of connection and you go outside and you're like, I didn't know it looked so good out here. It's beautiful out here. And then you taste food and you're like, oh my God, this is so good. And then like you look around and like maybe there's a tall blonde that it doesn't fit your little black-haired girl thing, but you're like, I've never noticed. Wow, her tits are great, and then you begin to appreciate that, and then it begins to expand. Well, the more you add genuine turn on, the more what you find turn on something that's a potential to turn you on, to activate the arousal, and I don't mean turned on. I mean to activate that state of being a little bit in love with everything. The more possibility there is. Because what happens is once you really taste it, it's so good that you say, okay, I'm willing to have it a little further out. I'm willing to have it a little further out, a little further out. But until that, then what you do is you just thoroughly enjoy what you already find physically attractive. What do you think?
I enjoyed what you said. I guess part of what I was wondering was, is there any hierarchy to looks?
Is there any hierarchy to looks?
Yeah.
Oh yes, tall blondes with big boobs are the best. No, there are for people depending on what kind of archetypes live inside of you. Yeah, here's the other thing that I'm going to tell you that'll be trippy. There are different aspects of you that are attracted to different types of women. And most of us have one that just overrides the others. You know what I mean? Like I can only have this one. But as that relaxes, you'll find, wait a minute, I'm actually kind of attracted to that. I'm actually kind of attracted to that. I can open it. And then it's you uniquely. It's uniquely what will bring you the flavors you desire. And as you change, that may change. That's the other thing.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank you.
Ryan Kruba on Facebook asked, is there any difference in how this work differs for the DACA?
Oh, there's a lot of difference. I mean, there's a lot of difference until there isn't. That's what I'm going to say, because what ends up happening is when you really advance, then you have to play any role. You become it all. So but that's really advanced. So I'm just going to start. I'm going to stay right where I'm at and talk from there. And so really the DACA practice is to be pitch perfect response and to tune in so exquisitely that is there a chair? To tune in so exquisitely that one can sense exactly how to meet the energy. Because sometimes energies just want really firm pressure. Sometimes they want really light pressure. Sometimes, so you're that's what the DACA is learning to do, is how to respond in pitch perfect response in such a way that you're anticipating where things are going to go in such a way that you can get ahead of them and look like you're driving. That's like the best Daka position. Now, the very worst is one that doesn't stay connected to the source, has drawn from the source. We're all granted various cities, various little magical powers at various points. And if you cut from the source, then you're just in a slow descent into hell, where you end up with all of the physical boons of having been a Daka. So you can like pick up the ladies and stuff, but there's no gratification, because what you're doing is you're getting physical pleasure, but you don't have the capacity to liberate, and that's where the only turn on happens. The only real turn on happens in liberating others. There's nothing else. There is nothing else, because otherwise you just end up in everybody's knots. That's where you end up living, and it's terrible. And this is the place where I know so many guys who started in fairly deep practice, got some sway, got some stuff going on, got just enough to get it going on and stop there. And then they, left with the girl or whatever, or girls. Usually these type guys have a lot of girls. And then just had like progressively diminishing returns, where basically instead of like a hot Lothario lover, they just became a therapist to a lot of really depressed women. And because that's where it goes when you don't remain connected to the original source. I as a Dakini, I hate these words, but whatever. As a Dakini, I keep my plug into my source to ensure that I never am, what would be the word? Influenced. I'm never influenced by anything out here, because that's an invitation to hell. And I mean that even like, I couldn't fall in love in such a way that I couldn't, you could give me Elon Musk's wealth. There's nothing, because there's only one thing. There's only one thing that brings gratification. And so and that's where you have to get, but you forget it if you don't stay plugged into your source. And so, in that world of forgetting, as soon as you unplug, suddenly there's some insufficiency. And so when there's insufficiency, what does everybody do? You grasp, you clinch, you grab for mine, right? The first thing, people do is they grab for a possession. Usually it's a person. And and so then, oh my gosh, as soon as you grab, it's like, that's where, now you're picking up gravity. And you're moving out of flight. So as soon as then you're really uncomfortable as you have, you're dropping altitude. So then you start grabbing for more things. Then you just have this endless weight of things, and they're just pulling you down really fast. And you can't even remember what it was like to be in flight. That's the worst version. So we say, until you have no sense of self, don't be a Daka. Just don't. Then get a consort who knows how to clear your lines in such a way that it's just like it's a natural buoying up, is what I'm going to say. There's like a feeling suddenly where you breathe and you're clear, and that's when you know. And then what's the first thing that happens when you can breathe and you're clear? You want to expand your turn on. Clarity likes to expand its turn on. So then suddenly you just realize, oh, I want to be part of this process of liberating others. And then everything that was done for you, you start doing for others, but you add in some of your own little flair for fun, and but you bring all of your experiences with you, and you have them all as, like your little toolbox. Like, I was a college professor and well, a graduate teaching associate, and I was a stripper, and I worked in the pizza industry, and I was a hot waitress, and I was a cook, and I ran a community and was a mother to many, and so I just have all of these things to pull out and play with in the determination that I will through arousal. So this is, I will through arousal activate each person toward greater freedom until all of a sudden the gate opens and runs clear for them. That's my aim. So I just am determined to feel into what turns you on. And that's, if you're a DACA, that's your question is, like really what turns this person on, like really not like, and not manufactured, but like, where will they feel so reached and seen and touched and approved of and loved that they won't help but be able to splay open. That's, you want it to be that it's just an involuntary splaying open and an offering, because people are very, especially really, I don't know. I mean, I don't know that this has I don't know how time works that well, but I think it's more so now. I think we're at a time where people are a lot more skeptical and fearful and cynical and lacking hope. And so it's harder to open people's gates than it was when I first started this work. So I probably had 10 years of relatively, compared to what we go through now, easy opening of gates. And now you also have Instagram and all of that. So women have been taught how to manufacture and look the part. But that never gets a gate open, so you have all of these subterfuge toward the real turn on, and then you have danger for turning people on. It's dangerous to turn people on, I can tell you. And so there's all of those things. And so, I know I made a commitment. No matter how dangerous it is, no matter how difficult it is, I don't think it's difficult, by the way. I very much enjoy it. And I'm very honored when anybody ever lets me into their world. But no matter what happens in this life, that will always be the priority. It will always be to press on the turn on any way I can. And some people do not give you an inch. They don't give you anything. And you still, then if they don't give you an inch, then you see if you can get it in a quarter inch. You just get the little tiny bit that you can, and then you let them know, with that quarter inch that you gave me, I'm going to stay here and wait until another quarter inch comes, and I believe it will. And we're just going to wait right here. I'm staying right here. And then, because I believe there are a few truths you have to believe in to do this work. And a very, very big one is all things self-liberate and all sexual impulses are for liberation. Those are two foundational ground pieces, and that the only happiness found is found in liberation. And that the ultimate happiness is once you have your liberation, then sharing liberation with others. That's it. Yes.
I'm sorry, I was late, so you probably explained this a little bit.
Oh, great.
I'm just interested to know, when you say you try a quarter inch, a half inch, like metaphorically speaking, what are you referring to? You're referring to any kind of like conversation, engagement, like any kind of interaction with somebody, or do you have something, or just sexually, or?
Well, so if I were at the quarter inch point, it probably wouldn't be sexually, because we'd be in deeper territory, right? And so then it would be like, where can I meet this person? What tiny bit of anything would have us find just a moment of rapport?
So you're talking about connection, making a connection in some way, or creating intimacy in some way
Exactly.
through some kind of connection. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, yeah. So so I would say, there's this whole range here of just making the connection, because so much of rapport has to do with safety. It has to do with you knowing that if you open, I'm not going to storm your gates. I'm not going to push you to go faster than you want to go. I don't have an agenda. I don't have anything that I want other than your enjoyment, because I'm in sympathetic enjoyment of your enjoyment. And so if your enjoyment included saying, I don't want this anymore, that would be my enjoyment. So then we would stop there, and that would be the most enjoyable thing to do. So that's what I mean, where you have to start in emptiness. Part of what I mean by emptiness is no agenda. The only agenda is to be available to arise according to the request. My friend Rev Jo calls it, she'll say, oh, girl, you got prayed into being. When you show up in somebody's life in a certain way, they prayed you into being. And so to experience it that way, and then to look for why. Why did this person have me appear in their life? And what can I add? And sometimes what I can add is just being quiet with them. It's not necessarily anything like that. So that's where I would start. And then my DACA. Well, that's what I have for now. And you can tell me if that was enough, or if you have another question, or if you want anything else. How's that?
I think we can go ahead to the reflections. Unless someone has, okay, we got some reflections. We will start with Kara.
Oh my gosh. Pulling two things from the dollar bin and losing your mind about it. I mean, I can totally relate, and I laugh so hard because it's so true.
It's true, isn't
We live in
it?
ourselves too.
You feel good, girl.
Um,
Today, let's do all of them. Since it's Sunday, we have more space.
Becca.
There. Hi, Nicole. I love to take notes on your talks, and so I was going through them. I have it's like you filled a whole book, and since you started, it's filled a whole book. But I was going through them last night because I'm teaching kind of about Buddhism in my class, and I can't tell you how many times you said resolve to be happy. I mean, like that's just the main message.
That's it.
That is the main message. And so and happiness is freedom. I mean, that's the freedom, And so when you said we wear our problems in order to feel safe, and I know that draw to problems is so it's so the default, it's the default. It's just so I love how you're drumming this in, because that's where I get hooked all the time is fear. Something comes up, I read it, and I'm in fear. It happened to me this week. I just went way down into my thing, and then I go, wait. Nicole said, when you're in fear, just go back into your power. I have power. How can I see the world different from this place? I have the power. And it shifts you out of that, left brain, keeping everything the same, status quo, certainty. We can't have uncertainty. And, and I loved what you said, and then so I'm always looking for what turns me on, and that state of inspiration, and it's creating, and, that takes me out, it takes me back, brings me back. But I also loved what you said to Leah about, let the dancer in you, whatever the dancer in me is, what the dancer in you lead. And anyway, thank you. I just thank you for this constant reminder of that very basic, simple thing, but
no, thank you. You
forever a challenge.
You return favors in kind and full in such a rich, beautiful way. Beautiful way. Thank you.
Nicole. Love you. Thank you.
Love you.
Rachel Regan.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. As usual, the talk was amazing today. I think personally, there was one moment where you were describing like, and that the feeling of expansive, the first breath being relief, and then expansion, and then turn on. And I thought to myself, oh Christ, I have felt this before. Like I felt moments of this.
Yes.
Like what she's describing is, I know this feeling. And then I was thinking about my own sex and my opening that channel. Again, my sex has gone through many versions in my life, but right now something is opening again. And there's so much permission to admit, oh, I closed there. And you always reflect that, like just pure permission to admit, oh, I closed there and it's probably got a reason, but now my desire is to open it again.
That's right.
And it really does feel like liberation. Like everything you speak, I have freer thoughts. My heart feels freer. My body feels freer. And you have that tenor in every talk about every subject. It's the same thread. So thank you.
Feels so good. Thank you.
We have a reflection in the room and then we'll finish up online.
Oh, wait, okay. Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, got it.
Oh, yeah. So there's so much wisdom there. I mean, I came pretty late and I got like 15 minutes of the talk, but when you said like each sort of incremental connection, I suppose I don't have your words, is an act of, and I'm paraphrasing, is an act of joy and love and pleasure in itself. And when you said, oh, but if they say no, or if it ends there, you get enjoyment out of that. You enjoy their pleasure. No matter what, you're enjoying their pleasure, which I think is such an incredible insight. And I'm going to use it.
You're an excellent
like you say no,
paraphraser.
oh, that's great. You know? Yeah.
No, excellent. Paraphrasing. I kind of like it better than what I said. Thank you.
We'll go to Patrish next online.
Hi, Nicole.
Patrish.
Hi.
Soft Patrish.
Thank you. So, wow, I realize that I have been this whole time, I've been experiencing the arousal that you described as right before climax. Yes. So it's very high, very amazing, open. And I go back to one of the first things you said, which was, how do we eroticize someone's confusion? Which I am challenged by every day.
Yeah.
By people that, I want to connect with, and they just seem so far away. So I really appreciate your examples
of how to
be in approval.
Yeah.
In a way that they feel, which doesn't include agreeing with them.
No, it really doesn't. In fact, it kind of does the opposite if somebody's very confused.
Yeah. So what a skill.
I mean, I think we're in the era of confusion. So one of my big questions has been how to eroticize it, how to approve of it, how to be with it in such a way that it all things when relaxed are enlightened. Enlightenment is relaxation. And so to bring that, whatever it is that confusion can relax in people, I can tell you it's very different from what I thought it was, or, meaning It's the opposite of being combative, but it is having a sword.
Mm.
You have to demonstrate your authority and that you are not afraid of their confusion, for their confusion to be able to relax. That's crazy. But you have to have them perfectly right in their confusion that you are doing this as an act of love. Like, no, that is simply inaccurate. And then they can come down. And then a lot more space opens for real connection. And then the connection itself will turn on the lights, and then the confusion will dissolve. You know, and all confusion dissolves in true connection.
Thank you. That's my practice currently.
I believe it. Practicing.
Yeah.
Joe, Zanatelli.
Hey, Nicole.
Hi, Joe.
I want to say, like, so first you gave a nugget earlier in the week, and I want to give you the reflection that was very useful. And you said, just keep your head, don't look down in the shit. Just keep your head up. And it was so good. It was like just trying to look what's possible up here and not looking. It's working. You said try it for 30 days. I think I'm going to keep going and try.
It's good stuff, right? It
It's
sounds
really good.
so ridiculous, but it's good. But it's good.
It's amazing how useless those things really are.
Yeah.
And then today,
useless and endless.
And then endless, completely endless.
Yeah.
And then today you said, you were talking about the dakas, and you said they come to realize that liberating someone is the only turn on. Like turn on is really actually liberating someone. And I was like, oh, that's making sense now. That's what's going on. Every one of these things, like, oh, that's amazing, and then like, oh shit, that's amazing. Okay.
Let me just say something, because I may have said it incorrectly. So I don't know that I can liberate anybody or you can liberate anybody, but I can be part of their liberation process. I can connect with them in such a way that liberation happens. Oh, that the potential for liberation exists, because they may still choose to not in that scenario. And that's I have to turn on to the fact that in that moment they chose to not.
Yeah, that's how I took it.
Okay, good. Okay, good.
Okay, good.
I just don't want to misspeak and have people be like, damn it, liberate! I am your liberator.
We'll go to Caroline next.
Caroline, we were just wondering about you this morning. Well, it looks like we conjectured accurately. Look at that. Beautiful face. Go ahead.
Today, when you were talking about the space just before climax that you can live inside of, it was this great moment for me where I was telling Maya, I was like, oh, I get there and then I climax, but what I did there was I made that space wrong. And so I've just kind of been off between the two. And so when you and describing to the person's question that asked, what do you mean in flight? It just gave this whole new level of transmission for me of just one level higher of where I want to be and where I can practice living. And I'm just grateful for that question and for the way you transmit so beautifully that vibration that we can all live inside of.
Oh, good. I'll be reaching out to you. The thing I want to say is one of the reasons why I try to give descriptions is everybody knows this. We just haven't been trained to look for it. And so we don't grok it. We don't perceive it. We don't register it. That's the word. And so everything I ever talk about, every human has these experiences. And then it's just a matter of recognizing, oh, wait, that one is a liberation experience. That's a liberation experience. And so you start noticing those more and cultivating those more. And this, always seeking for the problem, hypervigilance, total anxiety, stress, clinch, clinch, clinch. That one isn't going to bring me as much pleasure and joy. I'm going to focus my attention here. And so that place in between arousal, you're like, oh, I know this. You totally know it. And then you're 100% right about what you do. You recode the interpretation. All of us were told arousal was bad. Arousal's dangerous. You'll end up like the drunken artist at the bar, drinking himself to death, and then homeless and, with herpes or something. Like, it was just really awful what all of us were told. No, it is. It's the most raw access to the infinite. The infinite. It's the gateway. It's the doorway to the infinite. There is nothing higher. But what happened was a few people tried it, and they got spanked. Whatever they got. Because we've all been in arousal and been a little. And so what we came to believe is that arousal itself was craving. But all it was arousal came, you had a klesha of craving, and the klesha got activated and you didn't have enough mind to wrap around it. So it's just a matter of like, yeah, arousal is a high intensity experience. I'm not going to lie, but it's the only gateway to where you want to go. And you can just grab all those things and put them in the river of arousal. So you can take that infinite yearning, craving, begging, please, I've been obsessed my whole life. Throw that in the river. And then it turns into a really hot scene. And you're like, please, Daddy, I'm so obsessed. It totally changes the flavor from being like alone in your room. Be alone for the rest of my life. No, you just put it in the river of arousal and it becomes something beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Beth?
Beth.
Hi, Nicole.
Hi.
So thank you so much. I always feel so nourished when I listen to your talks, and there's these nuggets, and like I'm like Becca, I was writing them down, and I really appreciate the poetry of your words, because they hit me in a way that is just goes straight somatically to my body.
Thank you.
Even when you're talking about like when in flight you were fat with everything you ever wanted, and talking about sky dancing, and sometimes your talks have the quality of like I can listen to them live, and then I can listen to them on Facebook, and I get like there's things I missed, there's more I get. So there's just such a dimensionality that is just, yeah, that is so fascinating. And I'm just amazed that your prose can be like that. You can that your quality of speaking and writing has poetry to it.
Thank you. Deeply I mean, sometimes people give a reflection of something that's really important to me, and that the words transmit. I spent my life trying to learn how to do that, because otherwise, first of all, I'm isolated over here if I can't do it, having these experiences that I can't share, where there are no words, because that's the biggest problem. Once you have the experiences, how do you tell people about it? So that, and my life is wanting to transmit the gifts I've been given. So the acknowledgement you gave me is one that I've worked for, so it hits in a different way. I appreciate it deeply.
No, thank you.
And we'll end with Joanna.
Joanna.
At the beginning you said everything is like making love, and then as we rounded out the talk I was like, wow, just like this talk, like from the moment you said the chest expands and you sit still as the mycelium woman and everything comes from the vagina, and it was just like there was even a moment inside where there was a moment in this talk that you were talking with someone, and I felt a moment of disapproval and disgust and remembered what you said, and flashes across my face of like aliveness and my cheeks getting red, and I was like, oh, we all just made love together, and thank you.
Joanna. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well. That was a consort talk. Okay, so we will be back tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll be back. We won't be here on Tuesday. So there you go. And then what I'm hearing is continue with consort for a while. I'll just do one-offs until, you know, some big thing comes, but I'm getting a lot of personal questions. And so I'm trying to take them, pull them all together in various threads, and then, you know, answer the stuff I get privately and the questions that I get online here, so that anybody who has, because it's, you know, it's the pinnacle of of all practices. It's the pinnacle of all practices. Even Christianity, it's called quinonos. Which is the Greek word for what this is. It is. And so in my mind, I'm a different kind of experiencer, and that is that you know, there's supposed to be all these mysteries that you aren't supposed to know about, and you're just supposed to blindly follow a path. And I want to know where I'm going. That's what I want to know. And I don't want it to just be called heaven. I like heaven, but I want to know. I want a tangible sense. I want something palpable and feeling. So, because, you know, I chose the path because I had some experiences and said I wanted to live the rest of my life. And I called it In the Eternal Room. That was I didn't have other language for it, but there was an experience where I had that felt like I had gone home, and I just knew I wanted to live there. That was it. And so I started my path in order to have that. I want everyone to have a taste of where this leads. And then it may be that that's enjoyable. It may be that it's not. And then whatever questions you have are the questions. And so or reflections. So we'll talk about it until the spot changes. How's that? Okay.